What up, guys? It's Sisanie, and I'm hanging out with somebody who I've been wanting to get to know and finally interview, because as I was kind of like preparing and figuring out, my questions and stuff like that, I was just like, oh my god, I'm really excited to meet this girl. So, Grammy nominated Nadia Ali, welcome.
How are you?
Actually, for people that maybe are watching and don't know you, like, where did it all begin? Like, did it start when you were a kid?
Sure. Well, I grew up in New York, and I was a true club kid since I was 14 years old. Sneaking out of my house. Don't do that, kids. But, leaving when I shouldn't have. But, always really enjoyed listening to a great dance song. And for me, it was more like, I would be there. Everyone around me was like either drunk or like,
or
using some kind of substance.
Or whatever.
But for me, a little naive me, it was like, oh my god, they love the music so much. And really, like, I would dance from the second that I stepped into the club until the moment that it closed. So
it's always just been about the music.
It has. And so I, wasn't properly trained. I always just sang in the, in the school events, in the shower, and
I love it.
My house, and performed for my neighbor's porch, performing Madonna covers.
Yes.
And so I totally didn't expect to do this as a profession. I dreamt of it, but never really thought that I'd make a whole career out of it.
Yeah, for the past decade at least, it's been quite a roller coaster, right? You've worked with some awesome people like Sultan and Ned and stuff like that.
You know that
I really do. I'm like way into the electronic music dancing.
So awesome. I love hearing that.
And like, how did you get together with them? Because I'm sure every artist would love to work with them.
It's so funny. I literally messaged Sultan on MySpace.
No way, really?
7 years ago, like 6 years ago. No, I mean, he already knew a lot of my music, and he, he was like dying to work with me. So it was a perfect connection, and we've been working together for 5 or 6 years now. We're the best of friends,
and you guys have traveled, I'm assuming. Like,
all
your passport
around the
is probably insane.
Yeah.
Have you gone to every country?
Well, I've been to like 45, 50 countries.
That is insane.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, top country or top place you've ever performed at? The crowd, the vibe. What is it? Egypt.
Oh
really?
My God, Egypt is amazing.
I thought you were going to say like Ibiza or Brazil.
No. I mean, Brazil is incredible as well. There's so many wonderful markets out there. Like, you just don't expect people to be so into dance music, but you show up and they know every one of your songs.
It's international. It's crazy to see. How did you get together with Morgan Page?
Okay. Well, it's funny. He messaged me on MySpace, but unfortunately at the time, like, there was a lot of DJs trying to get in touch with me, and they were like, hey, I have a track and I want you to sing on it. And I was like, I can't do that because I'm focusing on my album. And so Morgan was one of those people that tried contacting me. But what's so ironic is I ended up having a publicist that also represented him as well.
Okay.
And, or actually knew him, and she said that, yeah, I know Morgan, I can do an email introduction. I was like, please, because I wanted him to do a remix of the song. So I emailed Morgan. I said, hey, Morgan, I'd love to do something together. I'd love for you to do a remix. Let me know if you're interested. And when we met and we got together, together here in LA. Yeah. He was like, I messaged you on MySpace, but you weren't accepting any messages, any DJs to message you. And I was like, oh. And then so what was so funny, we recorded 4 or 5 different songs, and he did the remix, which is the one that got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah. Pressure is obviously your single.
Aww.
And it's kind of, it's getting there, man. It's crossing over to pop.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's so, I was just actually telling someone on the way here how that one track, I feel like there were other songs leading up to it, but I feel like Pressure was like the song that really opened up to a very young audience, like a college audience. And it's just been incredible to see. Again, like, we released it, we did the song 2 years ago. Nick, who is Star Killers, we recorded it in our studio in Las Vegas, and it was Christmas Eve, or like literally the day after Christmas. and we're just talking about the industry. We're talking about how frustrating it is and how stressful life is,
pressure.
and so much pressure, so much heat from people. And,
Oh, I love it.
and then we were talking about it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna like write some lyrics, and we recorded the demo there, and then like a year later we signed it to Spinnen in Holland.
Okay.
And they ended up licensing it to Strictly Rhythm here. I just feel like that track was meant to be what it is, you know, like it just worked out the perfect way they got. And that was because I didn't even have words.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love stories like this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Same with la 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 la.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I didn't have lyrics.
The truth comes out.
Yeah.
And you know, well, your song and just house music, electronic music in general crosses over to pop. What is your take on that? You know, because you've seen it evolve from it being like massive in Europe and stuff like and underground in the U.S.
Right.
And you know, I feel like people like the Black Eyed Peas, David Guetta's, did cross it over finally, and now this is opening up a whole new gate for artists like you.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's bittersweet because I have to say, obviously it's wonderful that people who would have never been open to it are now realizing that there's like substance in it. But I also feel like, you know, when something becomes like very, very popular, people start to resent it, and people are like, oh, I don't want to hear another, you know, this song and this artist, you know, and
well, if those people say that, then they were the posers that just came in and hopped on the train.
Yeah,
and
the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
So we don't need them in our crowd, anyways.
No, but I mean, you know, dance music. I mean, my feeling towards the industry is it's incredible how you can just literally be like a kid, like in Sweden, who's like 17 or 18 years old, and then like 3 years later be like the biggest name, like Avicii. You know, he was in the studio with Nick, who's Starkillers.
Okay.
Literally 2 years ago, when we were recording Pressure, like the summer before, he was in his studio, like this young Swedish kid, like that nobody knew.
I know.
And just overnight, like it feels like overnight, but it isn't overnight. You know,
obviously your schedule for the next year is insane. How many shows are you doing? Where are you traveling? Like, what is your plan?
Well, okay, just to give you.
Do you even know it?
Yeah. Well, I do kind of know it. Well, okay, so in these 2 weeks, I'm going to be taking 15 flights. Like, just in 2 weeks.
I love how you know that.
I know that, unfortunately, because I had to count. I was like, oh my god, how much am I flying? And then I'm doing like probably 15 shows before the end of January.
So the upcoming album, is that finished, done?
Oh my god.
Do you have a title?
The artists always have the upcoming album. We're always working on that upcoming album. It's like, it takes, you know, 1 to 15 years, you know.
Well, it's your baby. You gotta pick the right songs, and I'm sure it's tough because you probably have like
touring. See, that's okay. This is like the problem that most people don't understand about like artists, and people are like, oh, I want a new album, and it's like, okay, but people want to see you perform live too.
Yes.
So it's like you gotta take those opportunities where people want to see you live, and you'll sell out a show, but then you have to create more music so that people have future music to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So it's like finding that balance. I'm taking 40 days off of touring next year, like in February.
Okay.
To just record.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that, then I'm not going to have any like new music. I'm not going to have any new content. And more than anything, I've been doing all these collaborations, but I really wanted to give my audience my artist album.
Yeah.
Or the solo album.
Definitely. So it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
And when you write lyrics and, you know, and do your music, do you just go nonstop? Do you have a style? Do you work through the night?
Oh my god. I like have, you know, I start, sometimes, it's funny because I'm like in like a vortex when I'm in the studio. I'm like, I start a project and sometimes I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but sometimes I realize that I am. And I will sit and like fix and edit and comp vocals. I'm very hands-on with my recordings. So I'll like comp all of this stuff together and I'm like, oh, but it could be like this. And meanwhile, you know, it's like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. I've become more disciplined now. I'm a lot more of a day person. So, you know, for example, I'm working with Dave Day here in LA for my artist album, and you know, we'll start at like 10 in the morning and you know, we'll work until 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. So it just depends on who you're working with. This next album is going to be like a true, like, I'm gonna make you dance album. Like, it's gonna be a true dance album, and
nice.
I mean, it just, for me, I felt like my fans really have wanted that for a long time.
Yes, because all your tracks are very like the word sexy, I guess is like the word to describe your vocals, vocals and stuff like that. And so the other single you just got about Believe It, that one's like a hard like house song. I love that song.
I love that sound too. And that's kind of more in the direction of my artist album.
Well, that's awesome. You know, thank you so much for coming in today. I know you have a busy schedule.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I love seeing women in the industry like just doing their thing, you know?
Yep, gotta hustle. And what's your Twitter? Just shout it out.
Twitter.com/Nadia Ali.
Okay.
Facebook.com/Nadia Ali. I'm very, very active on my Facebook page.
There you go.
And of course, NadiaAli.com.